Hi, this is Barack Lesnar of Barack Lesnar Hoops, and today we will be discussing the top transaction trends for week number 2. Before we get started, do me a favor and smash that like button, click that subscribe button. I put a lot of work and effort into upping the production value because, like I've said it before, you guys deserve the best. And if my information and content brings you value, that is your way that you can help this channel grow. We're gonna get right into it, and if you want to do me a favor, leave comments below. Let me know how your first week went. Let me know if there were any players I suggested that worked out for you, or if there were any I suggested that didn't. I would love your feedback. So we're going to get started right away. We're going to discuss the top ads happening right now for week number 2. So we see right here, Cole Anthony notched his first double-double of his career during Sunday's win over the Knicks. He had a bonkers game, had 5 3-pointers, 29 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists. Think it shows the potential this guy had. That game was so good. It boosted him from pretty much a low-ranked player to now being ranked 58. I actually have him in a couple of my leagues. So I have him right here in my 4 quarters league. I have him available in my Barack Lesnar Hoops Cash League, though I'm sure somebody is going to try to pick him up. He's also available in the Barack Lesnar Hoops Discord. I have him in the 20-team league for Barack Lesnar Hoops Crew. It's one of the leagues that was organized by one of the people in my Discord server. Link in the description if you're interested in joining that community. But I thought he was just a deep league target, but with a game like that, he's definitely in the conversation for 12 team. Now, bear in mind, he had an awful first couple of games. Sorry, wrong C. Anthony. He had a really bad first couple of games, really bad percentages, but we saw him do a lot better towards the end of last season after he came back from injury. This is his second year in the league, and I think he might surprise some people like he's already doing. Cam Reddish had his second strong game in a row, followed up a 20-point performance with a 19-point performance, hit 3 3-pointers both games. And Kevin Huerter seems to have lost his value, and it looks like Cam Reddish is picking it up. So he's only 38% rostered. If you have Kevin Huerter and Cam Reddish is on the wire, it might make sense to make that move for you. Hermelo Anthony hit 6 3-pointers at 28 points, a steal, 2 blocks. I think Hermelo Anthony is a low-end pickup. Even in his prime, he wasn't, he was a decent fantasy basketball player, but he wasn't an earth-shattering fantasy basketball player. At his age, with his role, maybe I would pick him up as a streamer in a 12-team league, but ideally, I'd keep him in 14-team leagues or deeper. Ricky Rubio has been doing a really great job over the last 3 games, and it frustrates me to no end because I didn't draft him at all this year because I was high on him last year in Minnesota, and then I saw what happened when he was in that timeshare with D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and it was frustrating. It was frustrating owning him. So now I saw him on a Cleveland Cavaliers team that's rebuilding. Colin Sexton there, Darius Garland there, a youth movement going on, and I assumed, well, it's going to be the same situation as Minnesota. I'd rather avoid the headache. And instead, he started off with one of his strongest seasons to date. This is one of his strongest starts. Ricky Rubio traditionally was a guy that improved as the season went on, but he started strong out of the gate. Might be that Olympic experience. I don't know. Either way, if he's available on your waiver wire, he is absolutely worth a look. He is averaging 16 points, 9.3 rebounds, 1.2 steals. Is it sustainable? I don't know. If they trade away Colin Sexton, do they want to go with Ricky Rubio and Darius Garland as their backcourt? I don't know. He's still owned in only 65% of leagues, so if you're in need of a point guard, you might want to give him a look. Precious, my boy Precious. 10 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists on October 23rd against Dallas. Low-end double-double potential, and he's been getting consistent minutes. It looks like the Raptors are not very high on Chris Boucher, so it's entirely possible that Precious steals away Chris Boucher's playing time. And Chris Boucher looks a lot younger than he actually is. He's actually close to 30. So we might see the Toronto Raptors invest in Precious rather than Chris Boucher. So if he's available on your waiver wire, he's definitely worthy of consideration. Eric Bledsoe has had a decent start to his season so far, much more decent than I expected. And much like Ricky Rubio, he was a guy I targeted heavily last year, but left a sour taste in my mouth when he played for the Pelicans. But now he's back with the Clippers, the team that originally drafted him. And he's had a strong season so far. Played 30 minutes the first game, 33 minutes the second game. He's only 56% owned. So if you want to take a chance on him to see if he can maintain decent production, wouldn't hurt. If he doesn't work out, you could always drop him. Who else do we have? Desmond Bain, 2 3-pointer, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. Him and D'Anthony Melton continue to impress and work really well together. This guy is only owned in 49% of leagues, so he's available in the majority of leagues, and he's ranked 36. So if you're in need of a point guard that can hit threes, he's getting decent percentages. The steals and blocks aren't really there, but he's contributing steady production across the board. It would make a lot of sense to look at Desmond Bain. Alex Caruso doing his best TJ McConnell impression, except he's getting threes. 12 points, 4 assists, 5 steals, and he's been getting above 25 minutes consistently, even with all of the ball handlers on the Chicago Bulls. So I'm growing much higher on Alex Caruso's potential. LaMarcus Aldridge is getting picked up, only 42% rostered. It was questionable what his role would be if he would lose minutes to Nicholas Claxton, but so far it seems to have been the opposite. LaMarcus Aldridge has been producing well, and he's a talented big man. My concern was his age and that he just had a poor season last year. He almost retired and then ended up coming back, which I'm very happy for. So as a low-end big, if he's on your waiver wire, which is a possibility with him only being 42% rostered, he's available in 6 of my leagues, I'd give him a shot, especially even in the 12-team format. If I needed a 4th big to round out my team, he's somebody I would consider. Pat Connaughton played 37 minutes, had 3 3-pointers, 16 points, 7 rebounds, only 21% rostered. He's having a strong start to his season as well. He's somebody you might want to consider since he is sneaking under the radar. He's available in 7 of my leagues, so the secret is still out. Franz Wagner, only 27% rostered. This guy is playing significant minutes. He's shown he can contribute in multiple categories, and he's on a rebuilding team that has vested interest in his development. That all bodes well for his long-term value. So if you need a shooting guard, small forward eligible player that can get you some threes, we saw him the first game get you a couple of blocks. We saw last game he got you a couple of steals. He's a bit of an unknown, but so far I like what I'm seeing. It's a very small sample size, but so far the conditions are lining up where I think he's worthy of a flyer at the very least. Hassan Whiteside played 16 minutes, had 8 points, 9 rebounds, a block, which is slightly better production than I think people expected. I think the best case scenario for him is as a handcuff to Rudy Gobert. But if you need a low-end big with double-double potential that has shown that he can block shots, you probably won't play more than 20 minutes per game. So he's kind of in the same boat as Andre Drummond, where they play limited minutes. They'll get rebounds, high field goal percentage, low free throw percentage, and a decent amount of blocks. Seth Curry has had a torrid start to his season. 7 3-pointers, 28 points, only 67% rostered. That has increased over the last few days. He's still available in 33% of leagues, and at this point, I think he should be picked up in all formats to see if he can maintain this sort of production. We've seen him go on stretches where he's a useful fantasy basketball player, and we've seen him go on stretches where he's not. So very interested to see how that all plays out. Kevin Love has actually been decent so far. He's only 21% rostered, and he's getting almost 2 3-pointers per game. Last 2 games, we saw him get 24 minutes. I think that's decent enough, and he's shown enough in the past that if you want to pick him up as a streamer or you just need another big, pick him up as a lottery ticket to see if he can maintain some semblance of value for the majority of the season, I would not hold that against you whatsoever. Doug McDermott had 7 3-pointers against the Bucks in a loss on the 23rd. That is why people are running to pick him up. He is on a new team. Coach Popovich looks like he values what he can bring to the table. He's probably the best shooter on the San Antonio Spurs. So if you need a sniper late, if you haven't drafted yet, which you probably have, but if you need one that's probably available on your wire, he's only rostered in 12% of leagues, and he's off to a strong start. He's hitting 2.3 3-pointers per game and shooting almost 50%. Again, very small sample size. The season just started, but sometimes you have to gamble on these guys because once they've become fully realized, you won't find them in only 12% of leagues. So sometimes you have to predict that they'll be better. Cody Martin, rostered in 12% of leagues, has had a decent last couple of games. Now, I'm not very high on him. Terry Rozier has missed the last few games, and my guess is once Terry Rozier returns, there's too many mouths to feed on that team. I mean, PJ Washington, who was one of the top fantasy contributors on that team last year, is barely getting any playing time. Will Barton is a great player. He's been streaky the last few years, mostly due to injuries, but we've seen in the past him be a very nice fantasy basketball player. You see, I picked him up here in this league because he was available. He's hitting 3-pointers. He's getting you assists. He's getting rebounds, keeping the turnovers low, and it looks like he is benefiting from Jamal Murray's injury. So more than other people that I thought would benefit more, like Monte Morris. So far, Will Barton is producing at a high level, only rostered in 63% of leagues. If you need a shooting guard, small forward eligible player that can contribute across the board, pick him up. Sean Tate, current rank of 51. I wish I would have drafted him more. I was really high on him, but then after that first game, I soured a little bit, not going to lie, but then he followed that up with 2 very strong games. I think the potential is there. The opportunity is there for him. I wish I would have hung on to him in the 1 or 2 leagues which I did have him, but I did not. That's why you got to trust your instincts when you're drafting and hold on to these guys. Then again, he might have a rough game or 2 and be back on the wire, and you might end up with him again. So that normally is how it works out. Raul Neto played 29 minutes, and very similar to Alex Caruso, he's shown the ability to get you a lot of steals and production when he's getting those minutes. Will he be getting those minutes? I don't know. I think his playing time was really tied mostly to Bradley Beal not playing. Scotty Barnes has had a very strong start to the season. The free throw percentage and 3-point shooting, that's probably not going to be a major factor for him, but he can get you steals, blocks, and he is averaging a double-double, almost 50% from the field. I'm excited to see what he is able to produce for me long term. All right. What other players can we discuss? Let's see. Close this here. All right. So it looks like Bobby Portis, left hamstring strain, is not listed on the injury report ahead of Monday's game against the Pacers. Now might be the time to leap on Bobby Portis. Brook Lopez is dealing with a back injury. Bobby Portis has been out. I picked him up in my Wakanda Panthers league, and I might look at some of my other leagues to see if he is available. He's available in Barack Lesnar Hoops Cash. I almost hate talking about him here because chances are I'm not gonna get him because these people are my subs. So let's see if I can let's see if my waiver works. All right. Josh Getty finally had the game we were expecting from him. I have him in a ton of my leagues, as you can see here. Just very high on what he's able to do. He had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals. Like I told you guys, that's LaMelo Ball-like production. And now we are starting to see it. The first couple of games were rough, but those were his first NBA games. The opportunity is there. He got 34 minutes. It was, not a terrible loss by their standards. They were getting blown out before that, 103 to 115. A 12-point loss. I think the guy is talented. He has good size. He has the ability to help you in most categories. The percentages will probably be spotty, but he is a rookie. I'm very high on him. I would probably not going to be as easy to trade for him. I did manage to pull off a trade in a dynasty league for him. It did cost me my first and second round pick though. But overall, very happy with his production in that game, and I value his upside tremendously. He's only 65% rostered. If he's available in your league, he should not be on the wire. Nasir Little played 27 minutes. I think he's a low-end pickup, not somebody I would focus in the 12-team league unless I see a lot more. D'Anthony Melton had 3 3-pointers, 3 steals, and continues to have a very strong season, only rostered in 64% of leagues. He's a per-minute monster, and now he's finally getting minutes. That's always what we wanted to see. So if he can continue getting 28 to 32 minutes per game, I like him on my team. Davion Mitchell, only 24% owned, had 22 points, 3 3-pointers made, and I just read a rumor that Buddy Hield is essentially out the door. They're just waiting to be able to trade him away. So I would go and pick up Davion Mitchell now. I picked him up in my Wakanda Panthers league, and as you can see here, he's available in the majority of leagues. Still, I think people don't know about him very much. And they're not very high on him. So very interested to see what he does long term. And I don't mind watching what he does long term with him on my bench. 12 teams, unless you have deep rosters, maybe not. But a Buddy Hield trade would open up significant playing time for him. And he might be in the Rookie of the Year race. Who knows? Now's the time to pick him up. Only 24% rostered. Another game or two like that, and you might not have the chance. You know who's had a very strong season, and I'm very impressed so far? Steven Adams. So far, based on his production, he should not have originally been on my do not draft list. That is a fact. I messed up. How is he available here? I'm very confused. That can't be accurate. Oh, that is accurate. That's the old league. This is the new league. That's why I was confused. Okay. But anyways, Steven Adams. Steven Adams has been really good so far. He's been getting assists. The turnovers are always going to be a concern. He's not going to get you threes, but he's been rebounding at a high level. He's been getting you steals. He's been getting you blocks. Very big fan of what he's doing so far. Originally had him on my do not draft list. I ended up regretting it and retracting that rather. Terrence Ross, 30% rostered. 3-point dynamo that has the ability to get you steals. He can go hot and cold. He reminds me of a Tim Hardaway Jr., but so far he's on a hot streak, so he could help your team. Give him a look. Only 30% rostered if you need someone who has threes, points, and steals potential. Derrick Rose at 23 points, 5 3-pointers made. I don't like that point guard rotation in New York. It's him. It's Kemba Walker. You're looking at Quickly. I'm not the biggest Derrick Rose fan. He's having a decent season so far this year, but he doesn't get you threes. He doesn't really get you steals. He's reminds you a little bit of Reggie Jackson with the sort of production you expect, and I just prefer point guards that get me threes, steals, and blocks. Like, I need one of those three. You can't really be bad at those three, or I probably won't have you on my team. Chris Duarte. This guy is playing really well. 2 games in a row with over 40 minutes. He's hitting threes. Will his value tank once Karis LeVert returns? I don't know. So far, my guess is not. I think they want to develop this guy, and we're going to see him continue to play. Gus Williams had a very strong game. I'm sorry, Gus Williams. Where'd I get Gus Williams from? Grant Williams. 18 points, 5 3-pointers made. He didn't take a whole lot of shots. In a deeper format where he's likely available, I would give him a look. I'd say no shallower than 14 teams. Ideally 16 teams, because he is going to be streaky. But we should note that he had a strong game. Kelly Oubre Jr. Followed up 2 decent games. This performance wasn't as good, but for a guy that's still available in 41% of leagues, you should probably pick him up. He's averaging close to a steal and a block and 1.6 3-pointers. That's what I've always liked about Kelly Oubre. He's actually outplaying PJ Washington on that team right now. So still only 59% rostered. You might want to give him a look while you still have the chance. Monte Morris has not had the season I expected so far, but I do predict he is going to be better. If he's available on the wire and you really need a fourth point guard or shooting guard eligible player, Monte Morris, I like his potential to produce. I think he's the best point guard they have. I don't think Facundo Campazzo is really going to take minutes from him, and I think he's going to improve as the season goes on, and we don't really know when Jamal Murray will be back, so I think the opportunity will be there. That team isn't really firing on all cylinders yet. I think once they do, we'll see him improve. Anthony Simons, someone PSA 10 drafted in our Barack Lesnar Hoops League, and 4 3-pointers, 18 points. Drafted him really late, only 4% rostered. Strong game from him. If you're in a really deep format, I'd say 16 teams or deeper, and you need someone with the potential to hit threes, somebody you should probably consider. Dorian Finney-Smith. This is very Dorian Finney-Smith-like production here. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 1 turnover, 1 3. That is production that can help you. If he has games like that consistently, he's kind of like a glue player on that Mavs. I probably wouldn't target him in anything shallower than a 14-team league, but keep him in mind. Saddiq Bey had 20 points, 16 rebounds, a steal, a block, 4 turnovers. Very strong performance from him. I don't have him on many of my teams. Others were higher on him than I've been, but he had a very strong game. He's rostered in 72% of leagues, so he's not available on a ton of wires, only available in one of my leagues. But if you drafted him, you're probably enjoying his production so far. Someone who is available in many leagues is Nas Reid. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, a block, 19 minutes. I want to see more minutes from him. I think ideally you don't want him in anything shallower than a 14-team league. And you pick him up because you want a guy that can get you threes and you can get you blocks. Kind of like Maxi Kleber in the past. I think Nas Reid is kind of carving out a similar role for himself. And kind of how Maxi Kleber was a handcuff for Kristaps Porzingis. I think Nas Reid makes a good handcuff if you have Karl Anthony Towns. Davis Bertans, only 10% rostered. Hit 4 3-pointers, 17 points. If you need a big man that can help your free throw percentage and get a ton of threes, he makes a lot of sense. He doesn't really do anything outside of that. But if you're in a very deep format, I think he makes some sense. He's available in 8 of my leagues. This is a guy that was valued very highly last year, but struggled. So now he doesn't have value. But now I think he's maybe gone into being underrated. The other big men on that team can't shoot the way that he does, so that makes him a bit of a specialist. I think we'll see him have in between. I mean, games not as bad as October 20th, maybe not. I think, honestly, the game October 22nd is a decent baseline of what he can do when he's firing at his best, and you may even get a sprinkle of blocks. Kyle Kuzma had 39 minutes, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and had a win against the Indiana Pacers. So Kyle Kuzma is on the radar. I don't have him in many of my leagues. Not the biggest Kyle Kuzma fan because I don't like guys that hurt your percentages and don't get you steals and blocks. But there might be formats or there might be builds that you have where Kyle Kuzma makes sense. If you have him, I would look to see if you could trade him for somebody more reliable. I just don't trust his long-term reliability, to be honest with you. Miles Bridges is now 90% rostered, and boy, that I completely whiff on Miles Bridges this year. I was very high on him last year. This year, I just thought, man, too many mouths to feed on that team. And it looks like the guy I was targeting, PJ Washington, ended up being the victim. And Miles Bridges is playing amazing basketball right now. If you picked him up late in the draft, you cannot be upset at a guy averaging 25 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. The steals, blocks, 3-pointers aren't really there. But what you're looking at is some really high-end Tobias Harris-like production for a guy that was being drafted after pick 100. So if you grabbed him, congratulations to you. It looks like you scored a winner. Jalen Green hit 8 3-pointers, which I'm pretty sure is the most by Is it the most by a rookie? I could have sworn I read that. He broke a record. So record in Houston for the most 3-pointers in a single game. So yeah, he already broke a record like that. And the Houston Rockets have had a lot of good players. So he also set a new rookie okay, so it's a rookie franchise record. So let me not give misinformation. There's enough of that on the internet. Ish Smith, somebody else who's caught my eye because he's been putting up some decent low-end production. If you're in desperate need of a point guard in a very deep format, I would give Ish Smith a look. Grayson Allen has the ability to get some assists, some steals, some 3-pointers, does it on decent percentages, and on a Bucks team that doesn't have Donte DiVincenzo, he's kind of playing that role, and we've seen Donte DiVincenzo be a decent fantasy basketball producer. So in deeper formats, Grayson Allen is somebody to consider. He's only 16% rostered. Justin Holiday has been healthy, and he's been playing more minutes. He played 37 minutes, had a 3-pointer, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, but had a steal, a block, low turnovers. That 3, that steal, that block, that low turnover, that's really where you get your value with Justin Holiday. So give him a look if you're in need of those specific stats. All right, now we're going to look, before we close out the video, we're going to look at the top drops and discuss why they are being dropped. Bjelica, after a really strong game, followed it up with 2 duds. And that's why I told you guys opening night, be careful with those opening night mirages and not dropping a really good player to pick up a guy who's now being dropped in mass again. If you want him, he's on your waiver wire now, most likely, or you could trade for him really cheap, but my guess is you don't. This is why you gotta hold off on dropping studs for pump and dumps, and that's what I call this. That's an investment term. Kyle Anderson, another one. He's been a bust so far this season. He was being drafted kind of around the same range as Miles Bridges, if not higher, and tale of 2 worlds, because Kyle Anderson looks to be the odd man out this season, kind of like PJ Washington. So that's why people are moving on. If somebody drops him in your league, I think he can be better than he's been so far. So consider giving him a look if he does get dropped, in case he manages to improve. Patty Mills is also being dropped because he had, after starting off with a really strong game, we kind of saw this last year, he tends to taper off as the season goes on. I think he's going to be better than the last 2 games, but probably nowhere near as good as the first game. Kemba Walker was on my do not draft list, and this is why. He's being dropped in mass now. He's 86% rostered still, but 36 minutes, 22 minutes, 19 minutes, the minutes are going down. He's not producing. His knee is not right. Not very high on Kemba Walker, and I understand why he's being dropped. I think he shouldn't have been drafted for the most part. We mentioned PJ Washington already several times, but just not a good look so far. I was high on PJ Washington. I drafted him a whole lot. Love the steals, blocks, potential. And that is kind of part of the issue when you focus on low usage players. I will say sometimes their value can disappear right away, versus guys that do have heavy usage, they tend to stay with heavy usage. So a bit disappointed, but it is what it is. Some other notable drops you might want to consider making. Malik Beasley has been terrible. The playing time is not there. The first game he had was decent, but the playing time not being there, he could be better, but I'd rather watch from the bench at this point, if I'm going to be entirely honest with you. Joe Harris. Joe Harris has not had a strong season. He was one of my favorite late round targets. Can he improve? Probably. Do you want to move on right now? I'd say if you want to, I wouldn't hold it against you. He already doesn't get you steals, doesn't get you blocks, doesn't get you assists. So if he's not really helping you in the ways he should be helping you, he's a very hard player to own. He kind of has to be at his best in what he does to bring value to your team, and he's definitely not doing that right now. Devon Vasel, he wasn't owned in that many leagues, but he followed up a strong game 1 performance with 2 duds. Move on if you have him for something better. The last player I'll discuss is Nicholas Claxton. I was a lot higher on him coming into the season. I still think he'll be better than he has been as the season progresses. He's still a young player. He hasn't had that many NBA minutes, and the big men ahead of him are old and injury prone. I think overall that bodes well for him, but right now his value is really, really low. If you want to drop him and take a chance on somebody better, wouldn't hold that against you, but do not be surprised if in a month or two this guy is owned in the majority of leagues, because his ability to get steals, blocks, really high field goal percentage can really help your team. And he's just scratching the surface of how good he is able to be. All right. That is a thorough week 2 fantasy basketball breakdown of what's on your waiver wire. Of course, I'm sure I missed some stuff, but I don't want to be here for 2 hours. I'll probably have another video or 2 for you, probably Wednesday and Friday. And I will aim for a live stream this weekend, though no promises. Your boy is incredibly busy, but very happy that I'm back doing my fantasy basketball content. And I'm glad that you guys still care about my fantasy basketball content. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell notification so you can be alerted when these videos come out. I highly recommend that because I tend to give you players before the herd has ran over to them. And timely news can win you your fantasy basketball season. That's just the reality of it. If you get to the top players before everyone else does, you're at a huge advantage. And doesn't matter if you're in first place or in last place, you should be playing that waiver wire like you're in very last place, because that's how you maintain dominance, even if you are already dominant. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is Barack Lesnar of Barack Lesnar Hoops. Adios.